That is Dee Snider singing, and the reason we're playing it on this Friday, July the 20th, is because he is our featured entertainer today for the All-American Summer Concert Series, brought to you from our friends at Keurig, the coffee that keeps us going.
That's right. And Pete's in for Brian this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Great to have you here.
Yeah.
We are waking up, though, with some serious news that we need to tell you about. It's a Fox News alert. Take a look at these powerful waves blamed for overturning one of those tourist duck boats and sending it sinking to the bottom of the lake.
At least 11 people, 11, confirmed dead near Branson, Missouri. A number of others are missing at this hour.
So tragic. Todd Pyro is live in the newsroom as the desperate search for survivors restarts. Todd, good morning.
Steve, Ainsley, and Pete, good morning. Nightfall put an end to the search for the missing, but you can expect efforts to intensify as the sun rises. The National Transportation Safety Board saying its investigators will also arrive on scene shortly. This deadly incident happened when a boat called Ride the Ducks capsized, then sank. A National Weather Service meteorologist saying the agency issued a severe thunderstorm warning for the area, which, like you said, is near Branson, Missouri, with winds expected to reach 60 miles per hour. In addition to the dead and missing, 7 people were taken to the hospital, with at least 2 of them still in critical condition. Witnesses describe the chaotic scene.
All of a sudden, we see all the staff just running back and forth with life jackets and AEDs, just trying to do their best they can to try to figure out where this is. Some of the workers actually went into the water, and also a civilian, I believe, went into the water and helped bring them up.
Duck boats, known for their ability to travel on land and water, have been involved in other deadly incidents, including one in Seattle in 2015 when 5 college students were killed after a boat collided with a bus, and one in Boston in 2016 when a duck boat ran over and killed a 28-year-old woman, not to mention one in 1999 that killed 13 people when a boat sank near Hot Springs, Arkansas. Duck boats were originally used by the military in World War II, but were later modified for use as sightseeing vehicles. As for this latest incident, guys, reports say that there were life jackets on board. Back to you.
All right. Todd, thank you very much.
Thank you, Todd. Whether or not they were wearing them, that's a different story. If you have kids and you're going out on the water, please put them on them.
Always. In addition to the fact that on board they did have the life jackets, apparently there was a sheriff's deputy on board at the time who helped with the rescue. But I think it just came up so fast because, according to the National Weather Service, at that hour, there were wind gusts of 60 miles per hour. And there were 2 duck boats out on the water at the time.
One made it in safely.
One came back safely. The other, as soon as sunrise happens, they're going to
Well, that was definitely in the news. We were getting Fox News alerts on our phone. My phone kept dinging when that happened, but also when this happened. When there was word, there was a tweet sent out by Sarah Huckabee Sanders that our president has invited Vladimir Putin to come to the White House.
Wait a minute. Weren't they just together on Monday?
3 days ago.
Holy cow, that's right.
Here's the tweet right here. Go ahead. Sorry.
In Helsinki, the President of the United States agreed to ongoing working-level dialogue between the 2 Security Council staffs. President Trump asked Ambassador John Bolton, national security guy, to invite President Putin to Washington in the fall, and those discussions are underway. So the interesting part right there is in the fall. The big question is, will that be before the midterm elections? I bet yes.
I would guess so. This, to me, sounds like a president who remains undeterred by the amount of criticism that has come his way. He certainly sounded like that yesterday. President Trump was on another network, President Obama had some choice, not-so-veiled words to be said about Donald Trump recently. Well, the president fired back yesterday. Listen.
Look at the sanctions I've put on. Look at the diplomats I threw out. Look at all of the things that I've done. Nobody else did what I've done. Obama didn't do it. Obama was a patsy for Russia. He was a total patsy. Look at the statement he made where he thought the mics were turned off, okay? The stupid statement he made. Nobody does a big deal about that. Getting along with President Putin, getting along with Russia is a positive, not a negative. Right. Now, with that being said, if that doesn't work out, I'll be the worst enemy he's ever had.
He makes a great point. He said over and over and over, I was outraged about the Russian meddling. Yesterday, we played a montage of him being outraged throughout the course of the campaign and into his presidency. He says he didn't collude with Russia. And then he misspeaks. Then he walks it back. He clarifies it. And everyone goes wild. Hypocrisy. Because when the former president, when President Obama leans over into Medvedev and says to him, hold on a minute, I'll have more flexibility later on. That's blatant. That's blatant.
Of course.
Where was the hypocrisy? Where was the outrage then?
And history has to matter. This is the same President Obama in the debate with Mitt Romney that said, hey, the 80s wanted their foreign policy back. They were dismissive of Russia. They dismissed when they were meddling in September. Now, suddenly, they're the strong ones. When you're weak, and you talk about flexibility, which Obama was, you look weak. When you're strong, which President Trump is, and you talk about talking to other people, you walk in with a strong hand. And that's what people miss about this president in this conversation.
Meanwhile, our Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, had this to say about Russia, which has been interfering in elections for a really long time.
These last few days have been, frankly, more heat than light. This administration has been strong in supporting the Ukrainians, strong in making sure that we protected against Russian expansion in other parts of the world. Somehow America seems to forget the history of Russia's efforts to undermine Western democracy for decades now. It gets confused because there are those who want to make a partisan case out of this with respect to the Mueller investigation. The president understands what Russia did in our elections in 2016. And he has empowered each of us to make sure that it doesn't happen again in the 2018 or 2020 elections here in the United States as well.
You know what will be very interesting is if, the president sat down with Putin and that they had that private meeting on Monday of 2 hours. Nobody knows what they said except the translator, who everybody on Capitol Hill on the political left would love to talk to. But nonetheless, it will be interesting if the president said to him, Vladimir, you got to stop it. You got to stop with the meddling. If he said that on Monday to him, and then he shows up, let's say mid-October, before the midterms, and it's still going on, what do you think the president would say then?
Yeah, absolutely.
He'd say, look, I thought we had a deal here. I thought you were going to stop it. So it looks like if that were true, the president would have a little a chit to play against Mr. Putin. Look, you're not doing it. I'm not going to go along with the Ukraine, Israel, Syria, the plans we had made. Maybe not so fast.
Yeah. So, Russia invades Ukraine under Obama. They do nothing. Trump sends heavy weapons there because Ukraine really wants them, yet he's playing into...
Yeah.
All right, well, we're going to have Ivanka on the show today. We're going to have Geraldo on the show today. And we're going to have Judge Jeanine Pirro to react to what happened to her yesterday. She has a book that came out on Tuesday. And she went on several shows to promote the book and talk about it and talk about her views. She was invited by The View to go on and sit with that panel. And Whoopi Goldberg and Judge Jeanine Pirro had an exchange. Keep in mind, she was a guest on their show. And this is how she was treated.
I'm 62 years old. There have been a lot of people in office that I didn't agree with, but I have never, ever seen anything like this. I've never seen anybody whip up such hate. I've never seen anybody be so dismissive. Here's my question for you, because you talk about, I don't have Trump derangement. Let me tell you what I have.
Okay.
I have a lot of, I'm tired of people starting a conversation with Mexicans or liars and rapists.
Well, but you know what's horrible? When people shouldn't be here end up murdering the children of American citizens.
You know what's horrible?
What's horrible
when the president of the United States whips up people to beat the hell out of people.
No.
Say goodbye.
Let me buy.
Then after the break, Whoopi Goldberg apologized essentially and said, "I'm sorry. I don't really
to the crowd. Yeah.
I don't lose my cool." But apparently, behind the scenes, Judge Pirro says it got really a lot worse. Listen to this. Here she is with Hannity.
I felt like I was less than dirt. I couldn't believe that I went there to have a conversation. I got thrown off the set, thrown out of the building, and as I walked away, she's yelling at me, "Get the F out of this building." Sean, it's sad. What these people have turned into is sad. What is happening?
I wonder if she's going to get invited back.
Or if she would go back.
Think about all the contentious topics you guys host on this program that we host on the weekend all the time. People you come on, you can't even believe what's coming out of their mouth. Could you conceive of treating someone who you welcomed on your show that way?
If you invite somebody to your show, you want to hear what they have to say.
If you invite somebody to your home, you have to be polite. It's okay to disagree. It is fine. You can listen to each other's opinions and you can have a civil conversation. But to throw her off the set and then continue to berate her as she's walking down the hallways and out of the building, that's something else. We're going to have her on to talk about it. Send us your comments, friends@foxnews.com.
Crazy.
Yeah. All right. Jillian has some breaking news for us. Jillian?
That's right. And so far this week, there have been, in the last week anyway, 8 police officers shot, and 2 police officers were shot on the job in Minnesota and rushed to the hospital. Moments ago, their desperate calls for help were released.
The shots have been fired. I am down. I've been hit. Left shoulder. Lead medic. Stage. He is not in custody at this time. He is constantly shooting at us with a shotgun. 27. He's outside. Shots fired. All rolling. Shots are still being fired.
The officers were following up on a call about a missing person when a man started shooting. One of the officers shot in the shoulder, the other in the leg. They are okay. The suspect, Dustin Bilderback, is behind bars and is expected to be charged with attempted murder. Powerful and unexpected tornadoes ripped through Iowa, leveling homes and sending debris flying through the air.
Oh, no. Oh, man. Oh, come on.
Wow, look at that video just into the newsroom. The storms brought down power lines, roofs, and trees in 3 cities. At least 17 people are hurt. More incredible video showing the winds toppling this clock tower right on top of a courthouse. And now check this out, another twister throwing cars around like toys, piling them on top of each other. Yesterday, we showed you this unbelievable video of a pipeline explosion right here in New York City. It turns out the steam was filled with asbestos, the blast leaving a crater in the middle of 5th Avenue near the iconic Flatiron building. The explosion seriously injuring a firefighter. 10 others were also hurt. No one knows yet just why that pipeline exploded. Cleanup will take days. And a sick display outside the office of Democratic Congresswoman Maxine Waters in Los Angeles. The American flag up in flames and being stomped on. Well, that demonstration was supposed to be a counter-protest against a far-right group, but that group never showed up. Let's look at your headlines.
Okay.
Screaming America was never great. Unreal.
What was that plant in the middle?
I
Any
don't
idea?
know.
We had our own ideas, but we're not sure.
Theories. No idea.
All right,
Thanks, Jillian.
thank you, Jillian. All right, first it became a sanctuary for illegals. Now San Francisco is letting certain illegals vote in elections.
Midst of a difficult national political context for immigrant communities, but in San Francisco, we are modeling what we know it is right.
Coming up next, meet a man who says it's cheating and he's about to call it out.
Plus, it could be last call at Trump International Hotel in Washington. One group trying to pull the liquor license because they don't like the president.
What? From harboring illegal immigrants to allowing them to vote, certain sanctuary cities like San Francisco is now opening registration for non-citizens to vote in local elections.
We are in the midst of a difficult national political context for immigrant communities, but in San Francisco, we are modeling what we know it is right.
But is it right? Here to discuss, Executive Director of the Conservative Hispanic Society and host of the Chris Salcido radio show. Chris Salcido joins us today from Dallas. Okay, so Chris, the way it works is if you are over 18 years old and you have a child in the schools under 19 and you're in the country illegally, you'll be able to vote in these local elections in San Francisco. What do you think about this idea?
Well, what could go wrong, right? I mean, foreign nationals voting in elections. When I first heard about this story, Steve, a couple of things popped into my mind. First, the Democrats just came up with their brand new slogan, well, their third brand new slogan for the 2018 election. What, for the people? Well, now we know who the people are, foreign nationals. The Democrats have been feigning outrage about interference in our elections for the past 2.5 years. Attempted interference in our elections. Now they're passing laws out in California, the Center for Left-Wing Thought, that ensures foreign interference in our elections. This is absolutely insane.
Well, a question a lot of people looking in are going to have, Chris, is, all right, if you're allowed to vote in the local election, what will keep you from voting in a federal election?
Well, you know that they have very lax voter laws out in California. And as soon as it catches on in San Francisco, guess what? LA is right behind. Here comes San Diego. Here come the other population centers out in California. And Steve, in my mind, if they persist on giving foreign nationals a voice in selecting our leaders, I think California ought to be punished. There's a couple of ways we can do this. If they persist in this activity coming up in the 2018 election, I think that Congress should refuse to seat any of their representatives, whether they be Republican or Democrat. And if they continue to persist in this illegal activity, that their 55 electoral votes should be thrown out in the next presidential election in 2020.
Do you think this is going to catch on across the country?
Not across the country. In California, absolutely. As long as they're allowed to get away with it, left-wing extremism lives out that way. Again, it's San Francisco, which is becoming known being the human feces capital of America, along with hypodermic needles strewn everywhere. Liberal policies don't work. But look, foreign nationals must not be allowed to vote for our leaders in American elections. It's that simple.
Well, right now they're going to try it in the local elections only. Let's see where it goes from here. Chris, thank you very much. Have a nice weekend down in Dallas.
You too, Steve.
All right. 6:20 here in New York City now. The Southern Poverty Law Center forced to give a multi-million-dollar apology for calling our next guest an anti-Muslim extremist. The story is Fox and Friends exclusive, and it is coming up next. And remember when the 28-year-old socialist from New York said this?
Unemployment is low because everyone has 2 jobs.
Well, get ready because she just was one-upped by Elizabeth Warren.
We look at these figures and we say, oh, unemployment is low, everything is fine, right? Well, unemployment is low because everyone has 2 jobs.
If you thought that examination of the job market from socialist Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was odd, top Democrat Elizabeth Warren just one-upped her. The Massachusetts senator now doubling that claim, saying that some people need 4 jobs to survive. The number of people working multiple jobs does not affect the formula for calculating the unemployment rate. And thirsty Democrats want to tax your tap water. A New Jersey state senator making that proposal, calling it a user fee. It would add 10 cents for every 1,000 gallons of water that a house uses, and that could make the average water bill in your home go up $32 more a year. Pete, down to you.
Well, there's new fallout for the Southern Poverty Law Center, a left-wing group, after its 2016 field guide inaccurately characterized our guest, Maajid Nawaz, and the Quilliam Foundation like this. This is what they said about him. They said he is an anti-Muslim extremist. He and Quilliam, his organization, caused hate-based violence and criminal hate violence, end quote. The group now issuing an apology and paying out a huge legal settlement. Maajid Nawaz is the founding chairman of Quilliam Foundation and a former radical. He joins us now with his exclusive reaction to this all. So the Southern Poverty Law Center was forced to pay you $3.37 million in this settlement.
$3.375 million.
Okay, don't forget that 5.
Yes.
What happened? How in the world did you, as a moderate Muslim who's fighting extremism within Islam, how did you get labeled as an extremist by this group?
It's shocking, Pete. Politically, I'm a liberal. I grew up respecting the work of the Southern Poverty Law Center, and their work against the KKK in particular was something that somebody like me, who looks like me, grew up appreciating. And of course, what they talk about is their main mission statement, to challenge extremism, to stand for human rights, is precisely what we do in Quilliam. Within our own Muslim communities, we challenge Muslim extremists. Of course, nobody can deny that's an issue these days. So I flew in last night from London. Forgive the early morning look. I've just literally
you look terrible.
I've got off a plane, and I met with the president after this settlement.
Of the Southern Poverty Law?
Yes, I had dinner with him for the first time last night. And I asked him this very question: how on earth could this mistake have happened? And was I set up? Was this a hit job on me? Were you under the undue influence of Muslim extremists? Was this somebody seeking revenge? And Pete, honestly, they genuinely seem to me sorry for what's happened. Of course, it's an expensive mistake. But they also said to me that it was a genuine mistake. I'm still trying to explore and get to the bottom of this, but so far, what they've said to me is it was genuinely a mistake.
What would the roots of that mistake be? So the left-wing organization looks at you, who are fighting extremists, and says you're the extremist. How does that add up?
Well, we live in polarized times, and there are a few topics that expose populists on either end of the extreme. I call it a triple threat that we face. We've got the populist left, the populist right, and of course the Islamist theocrats, the Muslim extremists. All 3 of them don't like moderates in the middle. And also, by the way, they also agree on their anti-Semitism. They also don't like Jews. So I put this question to them. I said, how could you be so simplistic? I think what happened, Pete, is that when you move too far to the left, any criticism of a minority community. Any criticism in this case of Islam appears to be a far-right perspective, and so there's a binary worldview that they took, and they didn't understand that just as they in the South would challenge certain extremists, say, for example, in the Bible Belt, that's their mission statement, to challenge, for example, what they consider are Christian fundamentalists, we have those within our community, Muslim fundamentalists, which is what we challenge.
How much of this has to do with political correctness in your mind?
Well, of course, you know, there's increasingly it's becoming difficult to have a sane and rational conversation around Islamist extremism. Our previous President Obama, he couldn't even name the term Islamist extremism. It's difficult to have a nuanced conversation. I am seeking to do so. I said to the Southern Poverty Law Center, we agree on more than we disagree when it comes to challenging extremism. And you know, I really wanted to understand how this could have happened and how I could have ended up on their list.
Well, and you throw around words like hate, you better be right about it. And in this case, they were wrong, and it cost them you sued them, and it cost them over $3 million.
Well, they settled for that much.
They settled for it. Got it.
$3.375 million, and a public apology, a video apology that seemed to me sincere.
Here is the apology we've got right here. He said, Mr. Nawaz and Quilliam have made valuable and important contributions to public discourse, including by promoting pluralism and condemning both anti-Muslim bigotry and Islamist extremism. So it's good when you see the good guys fight, and ultimately, I don't agree with much the Southern Poverty. I mean, there's work to be done to fight hate, but in this case, when they actually stepped back and said we were wrong.
Well, this is why I'm not really I'm not here to rub salt into the wounds. I recognise that this is a weak moment for them. They paid me millions, and it would be, I think, undignified of me to try and put the boot in at this stage. But I do want them to understand that something clearly went wrong in the processes here. If it could have gone wrong for me, which was such a clear case, then there are others who, A, don't have the voice or the platform I had, and B, perhaps don't have the resources to back that. And I want those processes to be checked, because when you call somebody an anti-Muslim extremist, they had a list. Ayaan Hirsi Ali was on it, right? In our communities, that's putting a target on our heads for the jihadists to come and kill us, as happened with Ayaan Hirsi Ali's friend in the Netherlands. These are serious allegations that terrorists take very seriously, and they go after people like us.
That's a great point, Majid. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pete. A pleasure.
Pleasure having you here. All right, coming up. Forget the Bible. Now the Air Force is using a generic book of faith. We are not kidding about that one. And what does Janice do when she's not predicting the weather? Well, she golfs for a good cause. How you can help. Coming up next.
Here's the story of a lovely lady who was bringing up three very lovely girls.
Well, your shot of the morning, the iconic Brady Bunch house that we grew up watching on TV is now for sale.
It can be yours. This popular tourist stop in Los Angeles, if you want people around your house all the time, is being sold for nearly $2 million. The exterior was featured in 117 episodes of the hit TV series from 1969 to 1974.
That's right. The split-level home was bought by a couple in the 70s for just $61,000. The sellers will give preference to buyers who promise not to tear it down. Hey, Ainsley. How you doing?
Hey, wait, where are you? Are you
I think I'm looking the right way. Hey, Jillian.
Hey.
How are you?
Oh, Jillian, you look down. Jillian, you look down.
I look down.
Ainsley.
Oh, stop it, Janice. You're crazy. Hey there.
Hey.
Hi there.
Oh, that's Rob.
Hello.
We're so excited to do that.
We've been waiting for that story to do just this effect.
You know what makes me a little sad about that, though, is that our kids are not going to know the Brady Bunch.
Isn't it on Netflix?
It's going to be on TV forever.
Oh, I hope so.
Are we still in this shot? I don't have time for mine. I got no money. I'm sitting here just looking at a camera hole, just like, yeah, this is great.
You look great, Rob. You do.
Yes, Rob, look to your right, and I'll wave to you.
In this episode,
I can't get it.
Rob, Rob.
All right.
Okay,
anyway,
Jillian.
so it is for sale if you're interested. Okay. All right. Meantime, it's news time with the lady in that box right
this
there.
One, yes. Good morning to you guys. Police rescue a baby as a woman uses it as a human shield after an attempted bank robbery. Police say Evelyn Masumi poured gas in the lobby of a Texas bank and threatened to light it on fire. When police arrived, she grabbed the child out of a car to use it as protection. Officers snuck up behind her and safely snatched the baby out of her arms. Masumi is facing several charges. Her relationship to the baby is unclear. The The good news is, though, the baby is okay. The NFL putting its national anthem policy on hold overnight. The league and NFL Players Association issuing a joint statement saying they have come to a standstill agreement while discussions are ongoing. This as the Miami Dolphins reportedly threatened to suspend players for up to 4 games if they refuse to stand. Those team rules are not finalized. A petition to revoke the Trump International Hotel's liquor license is gaining support. A D.C. Advisory Neighborhood Commission standing behind that petition because the law says licensees should be people of good moral character. They feel the president doesn't meet that qualification.
The owner of the Trump International Hotel doesn't meet that definition, and so ABRA, the Alcohol Beverage Regulatory Administration, should take action.
Is this a political stunt?
No, I don't think so.
Turns out the Trump Hotel is not in the jurisdiction of that neighborhood commission, but ABRA says any civic group can file a complaint against a licensee. An Air Force base is replacing a Bible with a generic book of faith in memorial honoring prisoners of war and missing soldiers. The commander of the F.E. Warren Air Force Base in Wyoming agreeing to make the changes to this ceremonial remembrance table. The Military Religious Freedom Foundation calls it Christian supremacy and says nearly 40 people at the base filed complaints about it. The table is a long-standing tradition that was started after the Vietnam War. Let's look at your headlines, guys.
Look at this. Look at all of us. Oh, look at the 3 of them.
Hold that very soon.
Ray Pfeiffer was a 9/11 first responder who spent 8 months working amongst the wreckage.
Well, he passed away just last year from cancer that was linked to that terrible day. He was poisoned because he kept going back in to get more people. But during his life, he fought tirelessly for health care benefits for his fellow first responders.
In his honor, the Ray Pfeiffer Foundation teed off with its inaugural golf classic to raise money and continue this brave man's legacy. Our own Janice Dean, Rob Schmidt, and Jillian were there and join us right now.
Look at us now.
Now, I knew that Jillian and Rob kind of golfed. I didn't know you golfed.
I actually did not.
She did play. She had the camera all day.
I meant well. No, listen,
you did.
This was a project near and dear to my heart. You guys know that I'm married to a firefighter who's been a firefighter for over 20 years. We knew Ray. My husband knew Ray for 20 years. He was a wonderful guy that loved Fox and Friends. Actually, the summer concert series. He used to come to the summer concert series.
Did he really?
He did. He saw Brett Michaels from Poison. Loved him.
Wow.
So he was part of our Fox and Friends family. He died last year of 9/11 related cancer. And his first annual golf outing happened last month, and I had some help from my friends. Take a look.
Ray never stopped. Even when he was sick, he always had his one-liners and his quick wit.
He wanted to train all the new firefighters, make sure they knew what they were doing. That's why nobody gets hurt. Everybody goes home safe.
Even with his illness, he just kept going and going and going.
On the morning of September 11th, 2001, Ray Pfeiffer made his way down to where the World Trade Center towers once stood to dig for his friends and colleagues.
We were down there for days, weeks, months, and I know, Ray played an integral part of the, recovery effort down at 9/11 at the Trade Center.
The air he breathed poisoned his body, and he was eventually diagnosed with cancer. Ray kept going. His goal was to get to Washington and get lawmakers to extend the Zadroga bill, which grants health insurance to 9/11 survivors and first responders.
His life took on a whole different meaning. He knew what his purpose was. He got involved, and it became what he lived for.
Do the right thing even when no one is looking.
When no one is
Ray
looking.
Pfeiffer.
Exactly.
Right?
Yep. And we all live by that.
It's what inspired the Ray Pfeiffer Foundation, helping first responders who are sick from a 9/11 related disease in ways the Zadroga bill can't.
He saw people that didn't have things that he had. It hurt him physically. It's like, okay, we got to get this guy this, or we got to get this woman this.
It's the reason why everyone gathered on a golf course on Long Island that included some familiar faces.
Thank you guys for coming.
Of course.
You were my first picks to come out to this wonderful event because you do golf.
I do. So does Rob.
Well, this one's near and dear to my heart because we knew Ray very well.
Yes.
And of course, this is helping first responders and their families.
First responders like Josephine Smith, who comes from a family of firefighters.
My father was on the job. He was killed in 9/11. My brother himself is a 9/11 survivor. He was an FDNY EMT.
So just to know that he'll always be taken care of with his family, you know, it means a lot to me.
Remembering these heroes, his brothers, is why Blacklist star Hisham Tawfiq takes part.
I'm a retired firefighter. You know, served during 9/11. So it's extremely personal for me. It's scary that something like that still haunted us. Not just by the loss of brothers, but just the diseases and the aftermath. And it's beautiful to have these type of get-togethers, but the reason is it's painful.
It's for reasons like this that donations rolled in, featuring a silent auction with sports memorabilia, artwork, and a special piece from someone who lived through that fateful day.
You've donated a pretty significant item for this auction today.
My fire helmet that I wore on 9/11.
Why? Why'd you do it?
I could give back every day, and it would never be enough. And this is just my little bit that I know I can give.
That historic helmet turned into a big donation.
And I'd like to give that helmet to my friend Rob.
Something that seemed to be exactly in the spirit of Ray Pfeiffer.
Okay, I'm not going to cry.
Oh, she's going to cry again.
Oh, no, I did it at 5:30. Thank you to everyone who participated. Ray was a wonderful man. We love his family. You can donate as well, theraypfeifferfoundation.org, and it'll be linked up to our website. We have to remember these first responders. They are dying today because of 9/11 related illnesses.
Thank you for having us.
Well done.
To the event. You were such a big factor.
He seemed like a great guy. I loved it. He
He
said it was his mission.
It was his mission
to help us.
do the right thing when no one was looking.
By the way, how'd you do at golf?
Both amazing.
Not terrible, actually. It wasn't my worst day.
I think we should do outtakes.
It was a scramble. I I think that helped dramatically.
Yeah, we used my ball a lot that day.
Thank you so much for bringing
We
us.
love you.
Great story.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, a country is cracking down on illegal immigration, and now they're getting sued for it. Is this coming to America?
And President Trump finally has a dream opponent in 2020. Listen.
I dream about Biden. That's a dream. Look, Joe Biden ran 3 times. He never got more than 1%. And President Obama took him out of the garbage heap.
What are the chances that that'll happen? Don versus Joe? The guy with the inside scoop coming up next.
President Trump says that he dreams about running against former Vice President Joe Biden in the 2020 presidential election. Listen to this.
I dream about Biden. That's a dream. Look, Joe Biden ran 3 times. He never got more than 1%. And President Obama took him out of the garbage heap, and everybody was shocked that he did. I'd love to have it be Biden.
So how likely is it that the former vice president will actually run against President Trump? Here to weigh in is founder and CEO of 32 Advisors and former chairman and CEO of UBS Americas and former economic advisor and very close friends with President Obama, Mr. Robert Wolf. Robert, thank you for being with us.
Great for having me on.
Thank you for coming on. So I know in order to get on the ticket, word is out on the street that they have to go through you first if they're a Democrat to get on the ticket.
Looks like I'll have a lot of meetings then.
Exactly. Who do you like? Is there a chance that Joe Biden's going to run?
I think there's about, I've been with him recently, my guess is about it's a 2/3 chance that the vice president runs. Listen, he's always wanted to be president. He believes he can beat President Trump. If you look at the Clinton-Trump presidential election, I think Joe would do very well in the swing states. He's really the #1 surrogate for Democrats going into the midterms. So I think he feels really good about, his chances if he was going to run.
Do you think he has a good chance?
I think he'd have a great chance if he runs. He's a great general election candidate. The Democratic primary is going to be quite fascinating. It will be like the Republican primary probably a couple of years ago. The Democratic Party is a little interesting. I think we're going to go back to more like a 2008 election than a 2016 election. Rasmussen poll did a recent poll where 73% thought they'd want a fresh face. So although the favorites today, Ainsley, is going to be Biden and Senator Warren and Sanders, you know, there's some really fresh, interesting faces.
Is it too risky to put a fresh face out there, someone people don't know, although it worked for President Obama?
Yeah.
When you're running against President Trump, when his approval rating's really good and people like him and the economy's great?
Yeah, a couple things on that. One is, if you look at the three most popular presidents of the Democratic Party over the last 60 years, it's Kennedy, Clinton, and Obama. They were all the age under 50. So there's something to say about that young, that hope, that change. You have a progressive like Kamala Harris, who's incredibly popular. You have a Midwestern pro-growth Democrat like Tim Ryan, who could be a very interesting candidate. I mean, that being said, at the beginning, there'll be a lot of people on stage, and certainly Vice President Biden and Elizabeth Warren will probably be the two lead dogs.
We're gearing up and we're all excited. It's so fun.
Trump-Biden would be like grudge match. It's like watching Stallone and De Niro fighting.
And all the gaffes, my word, it'd be a lot of fun to cover that. All right, for the people is the new campaign slogan for the Democrats. What do you think about that?
Well, let's say it's incredibly much better than a better deal, which was dead on arrival. I like For the People because of two things. One, it's the last line in the Gettysburg Address, so it really encompasses, you know, kind of, I believe, what the Democratic Party stands for, you know, gender equality, race equality, you know, pro-immigration. And then it also gives you a little, it invokes a bit of the Constitution, where it starts with "we the people." And I think that is in an interesting way for the Democrats to really talk about, you know, their idea of the Supreme Court importance, their idea of President Trump's ethics, you know. So more importantly, though, Ainsley, I finally like that their message is not going to be about anti-Trump. Because I think the Democratic Party to win has to be for something. Being just against something is not a winning strategy. So I like they're going to focus on infrastructure and they're going to focus on health care.
Robert, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me on.
We'll continue to have you on. It's going to be fun.
I look forward to it.
Thank you. Well, have you seen this? Judge Janine and Whoopi Goldberg, they go head-to-head on The View. Watch.
I've never seen anybody be so dismissive. Here's my question for you, because you talk about, I don't have Trump derangement. Let me tell you what I...
So what happened when the camera stopped rolling? Judge Janine's going to set the record straight when she joins us live.
Welcome back. Well, the European Union just hit Google with its biggest ever fine, $5 billion for abusing its Android operating system.
Google was using the system, which runs more than 80% of the world's smartphones, to promote Google's search engine, and that's why they got fined.
Well, in a world where Google's taking over everything, Kurt, the cyber guy, is here to break down what this means for you. Good morning, Kurt.
Hey, good morning. I think what we need to take away from this is the fact that the European Union is sending a signal that Silicon Valley has overreached into our privacy and into our lives to such a degree to get rich. And we're just now waking up to the idea of how far this is penetrating into our lives.
You mean we, the United States?
We, the world, actually, because the EU is first with this. And I wonder, are we going to, at some point, also clamp down a little bit on the likes of Google? But $5 billion, this is the largest fine of an antitrust matter in world history. What does it mean to Google? It's just 2 weeks of their revenue.
Wow.
So, I mean,
they
does it have 2
knew
weeks
all
of
along
their
we're
revenue?
going to get caught one day, or it's all going to catch up, but let's ride the wave while we can.
Yeah,
right?
what did they do wrong is the question. What they did wrong, according to the EU, is that they, if you and I made phones and we want to have our phones in the market, well, we need some software inside of it, and really Android is about the only choice at this point. So if we do the deal, right, but Apple doesn't offer that to other phones. Sure. So Google offers Android. And if we take Android, put it on our phone to sell it in the market, it also has to contain the Chrome browser from Google and Google apps on it in a preferred method that makes it almost impossible if Peep, say, was another browser or other apps. Got it. So that's why they're clamping down. And for us, as a consumer, we have less choice as a result, which is not a good thing. Bottom line.
There's a lot to talk about this. If you'd like more information, go to cyberguide.com, and he does a lot of explaining. All right. Kurt, thank you very much.
Thank you, Kurt.
All right. Coming up on this Friday, just 18 Democrats crossing party lines to support ICE. One of those Democrats is here live.
Plus, Canada's Prime Minister, Justin from Canada, welcomed refugees with open arms. Now, 50,000 of them have gone missing.
What?
Where are they?